showed you what the GOAT was last year when we beat y'all 50-7.
Let's go!
Relax, big boy.
Team One podcast?
One team, one podcast.
Yeah, they did a good job.
Really good. Yeah.
Why is he so fat?
All right, guys, welcome back. Another episode of One Team, One Podcast. It's Matt and Jack, and we have our mascot, Ellie Mae, on the floor over here, too, so you may see her in a second as well. Episode 61, Jackie.
61. Yeah, we're getting to that point where I don't know anyone with these numbers. Once we get up into the 70s, 80s, 90s, then I'll be back on there.
Yeah, so we appreciate everybody tuning in tonight. Say one more thing, Jack. I want to make sure your audio is good.
I'm saying one more thing.
Oh, you're low.
My audio is not good.
Yeah, say that again.
I'm going to say it again.
Say it louder.
I'm saying it louder.
Jeez. Oh, my God.
Picking up on your mic now.
There we go. All right, can you say that again, please?
Saying it again.
Gee whiz. I don't know what's going on with you.
Go. Now I'm picking up.
All right, you need to talk louder. All right, so we're back. We're back in. So we've been going to bogeys. We've been going to golf tournaments. And now here we are back in the Courtesy Automotive Group studio.
Yeah.
Very big show today. We've got Coach John Brady is going to come on with us in just a few minutes. We're going to call him up over the phone. And then we are going to have one of my favorites of all time, Ben McDonald, is going to come on the chat. Yeah, and he'll be on the live stream, so you'll be able to see him talk and everything. If you guys have any questions at all for John Brady or Ben McDonald, send them in the chat. We're gonna upload the chat, and we'll be kind of mixing it up with you guys. If any questions you guys have with them, we have a few things that we want to talk to them about, obviously. So we will get to all of those questions then. I mean, the biggest thing right now, I think, for LSU is basketball postseason coming up here, right? So SEC coming up, NCAA tournament coming up. Those are some things that I want to talk to Coach about. And then also like his thoughts on the tournament coming up. So is your microphone just not working?
I don't know. I can't be talking closer to the mic though.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Chris, you hear me now?
I hear you. I mean, I see you.
I'm talking pretty loud for me.
Jack is low, they said. Oh my gosh, Jack, what is going on with you? Let's see.
I know you turned the mic down the other day.
No, you're all the way up, bro.
I'm all the way up?
Yeah.
Shout out to Drake.
Plug, make sure it's plugged in. Tap it. You tapping it? Tap it. Yeah, I can hear that.
Yeah, me too.
You need to just talk louder.
Dude, I'm fucking screaming.
All right. You're just going to have to talk
we
better.
can curse now.
Okay. Yeah, we can curse. We're not at a high school golf tournament, so we can cuss now. And we'll tell John Brady that, because I don't know if John knows that we can cuss on this or not, but I also don't want to like let him know that it's full force either. He probably needs to be somewhat respectable. So guys, get your questions into the chat. SEC tournament coming up, and that's really what I really want to talk to Coach Brady about, how he feels after the Missouri win going into this. And I just think that I think they're in a really good place. I think matching up with Arkansas is the best thing for these guys too. So I kind of want to talk about that a little bit. I know Arkansas is hot as all get out, but I've also seen LSU blow the doors off of Arkansas. Yeah. So I think the Alabama matchup is the one we didn't want, and we would have to wait until we get to the.
Well, what I'm curious to know is
I didn't want to be a 4 seed.
First time we played Ole Miss, we beat the hell out of them. First time we played Arkansas, we beat the hell out of them. And since those
you better talk louder.
Since those January games,
yeah,
both of those teams have gotten pretty hot since then.
Okay.
So I'm definitely curious to know what he thinks about playing them later in the year. And granted, we've played Arkansas very recently.
Yeah. I mean, I think we had the scouting reports on everybody at this point, but I think it's more of, okay, what's, I don't know. It's at the end of the day, it's like which team's going to show up to play. So, all right, we're going to get him on. I'm going to give him a call right now, and we will, let's see if I can load him up Jack, what else is on tap that we need to be talking about? What else is going on? And maybe you want to talk to either John Brady or Ben McDonald about.
Well, obviously, we got to ask Ben about Dylan Cruz and his position in the lineup.
Okay.
We got to ask about, I don't know, I guess about the Oral Roberts series as a whole and what that means.
Oh, so bad.
If it really is as bad as people say. I don't know. I guess just ask. I'm going to ask him because I haven't been able to watch I'll be honest, I haven't watched any college baseball outside of LSU.
Outside of LSU, right.
So I'm going to ask him about like what else is going on in the SEC. What do I not know about, basically?
Okay.
Other than that.
All right. So we're giving him a call right now. Let's see if we can get him on.
Hello,
Coach.
Hey, Coach.
How are you? You live? Live mic, hot mic, Coach.
Yeah, I like the way y'all operate. Give me a heads up on that.
Oh, absolutely. And you're not going to we're not going to ask you any more TAC minor questions, so you don't have to worry about that.
Well, I was prepared.
Okay, good. So we actually did have a question earlier today about Antonio Hudson, and we'll get to that in a second too about SEC tournament play. But Coach, we appreciate you joining us again, and I wanted to get you back on definitely before the postseason play. So I'm glad you were able to do this with us. But LSU coming off of the Missouri game, it was just such a huge game for their momentum, right? Like going into the tournament, I just feel like they couldn't have had a better, I guess, pivotal point going into this tournament play, wouldn't you say?
I agree. Every game during the course of the season takes on its own significance based on where it is and what's happened before and what's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought this particular game on the road at Missouri may have been the most important win of the season,
right?
Simply because it moved them up to a third place finish. They stayed off playing Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
It gave Will Wade's team a chance with a great attitude in terms of preparation and learning, with the proper attitude and a lot of positive vibes around the team. So I just think it was such an important win to get, and leading into the SEC tournament. So I think LSU is in good a shape. They won 11 SEC games. I tell people all the time, people get down on this team from time to time. Will Wade's had more success in his first 4 years here than any coach to ever coach at LSU basketball. Now,
right.
Granted, he took over a different set of circumstances that Dale Brown or I took over, but still in all, you can't argue with the success that he's had. And the place that this team is in right now from a mental standpoint, I don't think it could be any better.
Well, let's talk about the situation that you gave Trent Johnson, huh? You want to talk about that? We won't do that.
Well, I have an SEC ring that Garrett Temple and Tasman Mitchell went to Coach Johnson.
That's awesome.
When they won the SEC, and they wanted to give me a ring, and I do have an SEC championship ring because those top 6 players there were really guys that we left there in the program.
Yep, it was a phenomenal team that year. I think I thought they could have beat North Carolina. It was just a couple of breaks go their way. Hansbrough took over. I remember that game like yesterday. All right, so
a really good team.
I know. You're right. It was. Garrett Temple was just a man against boys that year. And then Marcus Thornton. We just saw Marcus Thornton with Jacques, your boy Jacques.
MVP of the league that year, Marcus Thornton.
That's right.
All SEC. So he's a pretty good player to leave hanging around,
That's right. So getting back to this year, we were just saying the exact same thing as you just said before we came on, which was making sure you weren't going to fall to a 4 seed and you stayed in that Arkansas line instead of the Alabama line. How do you feel? I went to that Arkansas game, Coach, and saw us beat the doors off of them. And I understand it's a different team now, and they're really, playing at a different level. They got another guy that came back, obviously, but don't you feel like that's a much better matchup for us?
Well, yeah, based on what we did with them. Now, they do have another player that hurt us, but certainly that's the goal of any team, to stay off the number 1 seed, get them in the championship game, and then to get to that third seed in the SEC tournament to play the winner of South Carolina and Ole Miss. Ole Miss is a terrible matchup for LSU's a terrible matchup for Ole Miss and South Carolina too. So I don't think Kermit Davis is sitting up there saying, "Wow, I get to play LSU if I win." I think he's scared to death of that matchup because they've never been able to play LSU very well anyway. So
let's get him on the phone. Let's call Kermit right now and ask him, huh?
Well, I've already talked to him about it. I know he's scared to death. So, but that's why that win at Missouri was so important, to get them off that fourth line, to get them to the third line. I think it's falling right for LSU. And if they go in there and do what they're supposed to do and play as well as they're capable of playing, they'll be in that championship game on Sunday. Then anything can happen once you get to that point. That's
right. So, all right, one of the other things that happened this week, Coach, that I think it caught some people off guard. It definitely caught me off guard a little bit. Was Cam Thomas not getting Freshman of the Year? I know this probably isn't the biggest deal ever for the team itself, but for fans, it just felt like I know Moses Moody and I know what he does, but Cam Thomas is just like a take over the game kind of player, and I don't see that out of Moses Moody. What were your thoughts on that whenever you saw that come out?
Well, I think it's the wrong choice. I mean, he led the SEC in scoring. He's been a huge part, or probably more valuable to the LSU team this year in terms of success than Moody was to Arkansas, in my opinion. That's so fickle how that's done. Sometimes it's done on personality, who I like.
Mm-hmm.
Coach of the year, sometimes they vote against a guy just because they may not like him. There's not a lot of people that just do by the numbers. So I don't know what all goes into that. It's not the first time that a player has not gotten what he really deserved by the way he performed throughout the course of the year. It's just unfortunate, but most people who know basketball at the end of the day watch where it goes in the draft. And then that'll be the telltale. I don't think Moody's going to go ahead of Cam Thomas in the draft when it all is said and done. And you just sit back and he may get the last laugh
with a check in the bank.
Yeah, there you go.
The other thing on the Cam Thomas, first of all, he can take over a game. We saw that against Missouri a little bit, where he was just, unstoppable at the end of the day and getting to the free throw line too. It's just setting.
Missouri, I thought early in that game, Cam Thomas had a look about him I hadn't seen the last 3 or 4 games. I mean, he came out. His field goal percentage was way up there. He took great shots. He was determined to take the ball to the rim and get fouled. Then he started making some big baskets as well. I mean, he made 3 or 4 shots that were guarded as good as you could guard them, but he just rose up and shot over people. And that's the mark of a player who, you don't coach that sort of guy. I've always said this, you recruit that sort of guy.
Yeah.
And then he makes you a good coach. And, I was fortunate to have a couple of those, and Will's had 2 or 3 of those as well. So, you recruit a guy like that, he makes you look good as a coach.
So do you feel like there's any still animosity towards Will Wade when it comes to something like that, where you have a guy who's up for the award and it's maybe slighted because of a Will Wade animosity with the media?
Well, that's what I was semi-alluding to.
Okay, well, I'll just say it straight out.
My choice. I didn't want to say it as bluntly as you did, but I think there's something to that. I think
I've been drinking, Coach. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, I used to be like you and just blurt it out, but now I've gotten a little older and hopefully a little wiser, and I've tried to kind of soft code it just a little bit. But you're exactly right. I think personalities get involved in some of those kinds of things. And it's too bad, and it's unfortunate.
We did have a question for you in the chat. Chris Landry was asking, would love to hear you talk about Darius Days and his impact on the LSU team. I know when he was out, and then when he came back in, when he's hot from 3, man, those. I don't know. There's not that many teams that can really beat this team, especially when you get to tournament play. Wouldn't you say?
Well, it's just been obvious. I mean, you look at the games that Darius has had, and particularly the way he starts the game. And I think also it goes back to the number of minutes he plays as well, when he doesn't get careless or needless fouls. And that's on Darius too a little bit. Sometimes he fouls carelessly or needlessly. That's what I used to tell players all the time. Don't foul carelessly or needlessly, particularly players that you rely on to play at least 30 minutes to make the team function at an efficient level. And that's on him a little bit. Sometimes he'll just be running down the court, reach in and foul somebody at half court or 30 feet from the basket for no reason.
Yeah.
And it takes away from the overall play of the team. So he's got to be able to learn and accept that, because when he does play really well, I don't think LSU's lost a game.
Right. So a couple other things we wanted to talk to you today, Coach, was about, I guess, the SEC tournament in general, and maybe what was some of your best memories of tournament play. Speaking of Tack Minor, I remember a great game that he played against Kentucky. And he missed that shot at the end, if I remember right. But what were some of your best memories with the SEC tournament? And I was probably always typically in Atlanta back then, right?
Yeah, we played in Atlanta. Played in Nashville maybe one time, if I remember correctly. But we played the other times in Atlanta. You know, I don't really know. I think some of my earlier teams. We beat Georgia one night when Charlie Thompson was playing for us. I mean, our numbers were down, and we were didn't finish high in the league. We went over there and won a couple of games or so, and nobody gave us a chance to do anything. And you know, those are the kind of things that I remember. You know, our good teams going into the SEC tournament. You know, but I never put an emphasis on winning it. I wanted to go over there and continue to play well, particularly with our good teams. If we won it, great. But if not, I want to continue to play well, and we always seem to won a game or two in the SEC tournament. I don't know, maybe one time we went over there and got beat early and left, but I think most of the time when I was coaching at LSU, and I could tell you how my memory is. I don't remember every single game, but I thought we always played pretty well in the SEC tournament. Never could win it. But we always seemed to win a game or two, and I just wanted our team to continue to play well and compete and improve, and use that to get maybe a better seeding, but continue to play well going into the Ncaa tournament.
Yeah, and I mean, and I would assume that's Will Wade's view on the tournament as well, correct? Like he's built his schedule around seeding for the tournament, right? Seeding for the NCAA tournament and net and all that stuff. And I feel like that's kind of where he's always at, is making sure that he's on the right line. So if we're on like maybe a 7 line, make sure that we don't get to that 8 line. Is that kind of what you feel with him as far as the SEC tournament goes, and maybe his thoughts?
Yeah. I used to just try to play it the best we possibly could, let it fall where it may. But Will's much more into that in terms of who he schedules, where they play people. He's really smart about that, much smarter than I was. And I think now, though, it's more emphasis on that kind of thing than it was maybe when I was coaching at LSU. But Will's very in tune to that, and he's very smart about that and who they play, where they play them, and all of that's about feeding and getting into the NCAA tournament. And he does a great job of that.
So the story of Antonio Hudson and maybe getting hot in the SEC tournament. Take me back to that, and what do you remember about this?
Well, Antonio Hudson, first of all, he's one of the best guys I ever coached in terms of character.
You said this last time we had you on, Coach, and it's funny that somebody mentioned this to us.
I love the guy. Yeah, and he's probably as good a clutch player next to Daryl Mitchell that I ever coached at LSU in terms of making big baskets at the right time.
Yeah.
You know, Antonio's part of a team that beat the #1 team in the country. He experienced that at LSU. He always went to the SEC tournament and seemed to play well and get up for that. What the reason for that is, I don't know. Maybe it was on him a little bit. He got more psyched up for that. But he was one of the better players at LSU that I coached that doesn't seem to get the recall or the recognition that he deserves based on the career that he had there.
Yeah, right. Best player to ever come out of Grambling? Would you say that?
Well, I think there was a Grambling player at Tulane maybe at one point.
Honeycutt, right?
Yeah, there's been some very good Grambling players. He's certainly in the top 2, I think, that's ever come out of there, based on the success that he had in college.
All right, I think I know the answer to this one. I have another chat question. Wildest crowd you've ever seen in the PMAC? I think I was there, so you tell me.
There were several, but I think that the crowd that I remember the most was the 2000 team with Stromile and Jabari, and I think the one of the best plays when we beat Arizona, and it was the worst loss in Lute Olson's career at Arizona, when Jabari went behind the back, the fake behind the back, dunked it at halftime at the buzzer. And I just remember coming off that floor when the buzzer went off, and that crowd was really insane. I mean, that was probably as loud as I've ever heard it in that building.
That's the one. I was there. I think was Dick Vitale calling that game?
Dick Vitale, I don't know. He was on the other. He was calling the other game when we beat Arizona when they.
That's
were
right. Yeah,
the country.
There's somebody.
That was at Christmas. That was 3 or 4 years later, in like 2003 or 2004.
I don't remember who was calling that game. I jumped over some announcer at that press box. I literally just hopped over. I was spry in my 20s. Jumped right over him. I was on the court. I remember all that. That season was something else for us. So that game, I remember the Ole Miss when we won the SEC tournament. I ran on the floor on that game too. And yeah, the Jabari dunk was just like everybody. The Kentucky game that year with Saul Smith. Yeah. We were calling Saul Smith all kinds of names. Then Chris Porter with Auburn. People don't remember the Chris Porter with Auburn 2 years there. It was just so exciting every game that we played them, I felt like.
Yeah, that team, different than that team in the 06 team, is the 2000 team got recognized early because we had a lot of early success. You know, we beat Oklahoma. They were ranked in New Orleans. We went to Hawaii and won a tournament over in Hilo, and then that team got ranked early. The 2006 team got recognized as the season went on because we started a little bit slow, but we got into SEC play and won like 7 or 8 in a row. So two different starts to those two different teams, but they were both really, really good.
The 2016 was you beating West Virginia on the road, almost beating UConn on the road. Tyrus Thomas goes crazy. Like all that kind of stuff. We need to get Tyrus on this show, Coach, and maybe do we can do a round table with you guys and just sit you down. We could smoke some cigars or something like that. That would be great.
That'd be great. He would be great to have on. He's got some stories too, and he's another good guy, man, that I enjoy coaching as well.
All right. So, I don't know if you know this, Coach, but we started the Darante Jones Bourbon Club. All right. So, and what we're doing is we're going around to different restaurants and we're doing old-fashioned reviews. We're big bourbon guys here, okay? So we actually ran into Darante Jones at one of the restaurants, and we told him, hey, we're doing a club that's in your name. I hope you're okay with it. We want to know if you want to come with us and do an old-fashioned review at one of the restaurants. Would you be able to do that?
Of course I can. Do I have to drink bourbon, or can I sneak some vodka on the side?
Oh, we'll do the vodka. We'll make an exception for you as long as you're there.
You just tell me when and where and give me a little heads up. But
we'll do it. I'm trying to get Darante Jones to come and do one too. I don't know if LSU may just call and shut this whole thing down. I don't even know, Coach. All right, one last serious question in the chat. How many games does LSU need to win in the SEC tournament to get off the 8th seed for the NCAA?
I think that my reply to that depends on who else loses. I think that has something to do with it as well.
Yeah.
But I think if they get to the championship game, I think they move up a notch. I think there's no question about that. And then some other teams will probably lose, and that will affect the seeding as well. So LSU goes and wins a couple of games. I think they got a shot.
Yeah, I'm hoping they don't have to beat Arkansas to get to that level. I mean, I'm hoping they can win one game and maybe be a 7. But I'm thinking I know you're shaking your head at me too. Yeah,
I'm thinking 2 wins.
Yeah, I think you need to.
Depends on who loses. You never know. Somebody may get upset, drop down, and LSU may can do it with 1 win. But I think 2 certainly would get them up a level, maybe 2 if they can beat Arkansas.
Right. Well, that's awesome. Okay, so I appreciate it, Coach. We will get in touch with you. I'm like Jordy Collada, and I've met with Jordy the other day, and like we are relentless with following up with people. So I will text you. So just make sure that you answer the text if you can. But I'll say.
Now, do you have Ben McDonald coming after me?
I have Ben McDonald come on after you. You got something you want to say to him?
Well, you asked Ben McDonald who is the best coach that ever recruited him. Ask him that.
I will. I'm already ready to ask him. All right. So here's the question I was going to ask him. He's not watching right now, so I know he's not going to answer this right. But if I was going to say, look, I feel like the LSU basketball team right now is just missing one element, and I'm thinking it's like a 6'7" scrappy guy that can kind of hit the floor. And I have a picture all ready to put up on the screen, and so I'm waiting to hear from him on that one. So, all right,
well,
best.
I was an assistant coach at Mississippi State. And
okay.
He was going to LSU all the way, but he took one other visit. I wanted him to play basketball at Mississippi State and baseball. Well, I took Ron Polk and Bob Boyd, the basketball coach at the time, into his home, and he did spend a weekend at Mississippi State, the only other visit he took. And he's a special guy, man, great family. But we walked in his den to recruit him, the baseball coach at Mississippi State and the basketball coach, and they both looked up to see that there was a purple and gold fan, and they looked at me and said, how are we going to get this guy? I said, well, we might not. Let's just give it a chance.
It's not just some baseball coaches. Ron Polk, for crying out loud, walking in there.
Ooh,
I don't know.
He and Skip Bertman made SEC baseball.
Absolutely. All right, Coach, we appreciate it. I'm definitely going to ask Ben that question. He's already he said he was trembling following your footsteps today. So
yeah. You saved the best for last. You got the right deal.
All right, Coach, we appreciate it. We'll be back in touch with you. Hopefully maybe even before NCAA basketball. So we'll catch up with you then, okay?
Okay, guys. Thanks much.
Thanks, Coach. All right. Bye. All right, that was Coach John Brady. Hey, guys, we're going to take a quick break, if you don't mind. Get your chats ready for Ben McDonald. We're going to talk LSU baseball and college baseball in general. So get those ready for us if you can in the chat page, and we will be back momentarily right after this break.
Ether Insurance is dedicated to helping the businesses and people of Baton Rouge secure affordable insurance tailored to their needs. With our curated network of insurance carriers, we provide the best solutions for home, auto, life, and business coverage. Ether Insurance, powering and protecting your world.
2020 took a toll on all of us. If you're going through a divorce or custody issue, let Dejan Law Office be by your side in 2021.
Dejan Law Office, fighting for what you deserve. 344-ANDY.
Brandon Lejean here, courtesy Buick GMC.
Call Brandon Lejean at 337-224-1867.
Come see us today, courtesy Buick GMC.
Join us for a drink at the Darante Jones Bourbon Club. When Coach Jones isn't scheming defenses, he's scheming up new cocktails. Our cocktails may be old-fashioned, but his blitz packages aren't. So when you are feeling like you're in a zone and you need to switch to man, come to the Darante Jones Bourbon Club, where everyone is welcome except Bo Pelini.
Great score!
All right, guys, welcome back. Great chat with Coach John Brady. So I'm going to get him on the Darante Jones Bourbon Club, and he can do some bourbon reviews or vodka reviews. Well, I was thinking after we're doing the March Madness, and we're going to different places for old fashions, and I'm thinking, okay, when we get done with that, are we going to switch to something else? And So yes, when you're in a zone, you need to switch to man. The next thing I could do is do female-oriented drinks, and not me judge it, but get females to judge the drinks.
What do we call it? Like bitch drinks or something like that?
No, I'm not going to call it a bit. All right. Also,
come on.
I need to do a formal
That's what I thought.
apology. I feel like
To
our friend Zach.
Zach. Who?
Zach,
Who's Zach?
your friend Zach.
Oh, my friend Zach. Right.
I need to apologize to Zach, and we'll cut this and we'll send it to him. I said something about Miles Brennan about 4 episodes ago, and it was slightly joking. It was more about Max Johnson. I feel like Max Johnson is going to be the guy, and now there's all this. There's this Miles Brennan hype train going on right now about how much he weighs and all that.
By the way, he responded to your Max Johnson hype thing, and he actually made a point that I was at first when he said it, I was like, that doesn't sound right. And then I was like, yes. He was like, oh, so he likes Max Johnson, who is the least talented quarterback on the entire roster.
I mean, he's gonna get if he gets the job done. I mean,
at least physically talented. I was like,
yeah, sure,
that's actually probably true.
Yeah, probably
of the 4.
I mean, I just need to see some more. I just need to see more, I guess. And if he's healthy, obviously, hopefully everything's great. But I said something derogatory towards Miles Brennan, and Zach said he will never listen again because I said that. And I wanted to apologize to you, Zach, right here, right now. That I take that back. I have nothing but love for Miles Brennan. I love that he is, 300 pounds, a 300-pound quarterback. I appreciate all that. It is what it is. So
here's my question about the whole Miles Brennan weight thing.
Okay. I was getting killed on Facebook about this today, by the way.
Do we think he looks fat because we're used to him being skinny?
Yes.
Or is he just now healthy?
I don't think he's fat.
And we're just not used to it.
I don't think he's fat. I just think that he was so skinny, and now he is like, he's got some chub on him. He's puffy.
Well, yeah.
It's not fat. It's just
not fat. That's not what I meant to say. But
it's just a joke. It's just fun. Like everybody was talking about how skinny he was, and now this is right up my alley, man. Like, so, but people on Facebook do not get this at all. Like, they don't get my humor with this. They don't get any of that. Like, yes, I am never going to stop until I can get Miles Brennan on a live stream. Maybe we can do it at Bogey's, and I set up a scale and we can actually see what he weighs on a scale. That's what I'm waiting for.
Here's my guess is that he's not going to do that.
Miles, I know you're watching. So what did Sam just say? The guys drinking must have got what? That card back. Yeah, I haven't got my card back. I left my card at a bar at the golf course in Oberlin, Louisiana. I left my card there. They're mailing it back to me, guys. So waiting for it back. Coach Brady is the GOAT. I agree with that. Coach is just such a great guy, man. He's been open to us since the very beginning, and man, I can talk to him about old. I call it old, but it's like my glory years of basketball. I can talk to him about that stuff all day long. Right. I can't wait to talk to Ben McDonald about that too, but that would be great. We'll have Ben McDonald coming in just a few minutes. He's going to join the chat. Get your questions in for Ben if you can. Also, guys, follow us on YouTube if you can. I see Andrew Martins is from the YouTube chat right now. So follow us on YouTube, subscribe if you can, and like. It would really help us a lot. But yeah, Facebook is going the Tennessee path of irrelevancy. I agree. We just switched to Twitch as well. So now we're on Twitch. I'm trying to figure that part out. But yeah, I really want to get on YouTube more than anything. I just like that YouTube chat feature better, all that. So if you can, give us a subscribe and notification bell on our YouTube platform. I was looking for my ding button. There you go. See? If you and also
we have somebody watching on Twitch right now.
Do we? Okay.
Who's watching on Twitch?
Yeah, I don't know.
Comment.
Some gamer kids watching on Twitch right now.
Maybe it's Charlie.
Maybe. But yeah, get your chats in for Ben McDonald. I want to ask him a lot about SEC baseball, and you kind of know my feelings on SEC right now. I know we're completely loaded. The SEC is completely loaded in.
We got to raise this fucking camera.
Wait, what happened?
Well, because when I do that,
please don't do that. What are you doing?
It's just a natural thing.
I think you need to sit up straight, maybe cross your legs. Talk louder in the mic. All
I
that.
apologize, Chris.
My interns, man. I can't swear. I swear to God. Anyway, all right. Ben McDonald is joining us right now. Get your chats in for Ben. We will hook up with him now. We think we got him. Can you hear us, Ben? Ben, you hear us?
He's probably connecting his audio and his
Mm-hmm.
camera.
I'm going to text him and tell him to connect his audio and his camera.
I bet you he connects it before you get the text sent.
I'm going to hold on. Let's see if I can do it.
Oh.
Button. He's there. I know he's there.
I bet you he hears us.
He may hear us. I think he's got. Oh, we almost had him. Guys, keep putting your chats in for Ben McDonald if you can, guys. And one of the big things that we wanted to talk about was going to be can't hear anything, he says. We wanted to talk about Dylan Cruz and where he's at in the lineup. What do you think about that, Jack?
I think it's well documented what we think. He needs to be in the 3. Yeah, we talked about this this stat last week about how he's hit 5 home runs this year and he has 6 RBIs.
Mm-hmm.
So 5 of those RBIs are himself. He's hit 1 RBI that is not himself. He's 7th on the team in RBIs. He is it's obnoxious. He's our best hitter. His slug percentage is like 800 or something like that. He's batting 400. He's our best hitter in every single facet.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand why you want your best batting average to bat first, but when you're just crushing the ball like he is, I mean, you gotta have some runners on base for him. So I don't know if maybe Paul's just waiting for SEC play to start and then he's gonna move him to the 3 hole.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the idea is here, but we've gone this far with him staying at the 1. I'm assuming almost that he's just gonna stay there.
We may need to call him. Oh.
Need to do the John Brady.
Let's see. Let me call you instead. Yeah, we'll give him a call instead, and we'll do it just like John Brady because he can't get in the chat.
That'll work.
No worries on my end here. So let's see. Whoops. Let's see. What else do you want to know about LSU baseball?
I mean, I don't know much about, Ben McDonald era of baseball because, I was what years did he go to LSU?
87 or 86 to 80s.
86.
Hello.
Hey, Big Ben, how are you?
Hey.
You're live. You're live. I got you. I was going to figure out a way, no matter what.
Are we live?
We are live. Don't say anything about John Brady.
Well, John Brady, I'm going to go to my phone. I have my iPad hooked up.
I'm sorry about that. We'll figure that out next time for sure.
All right. Yeah, John Brady's a good friend of mine, man. I tell you, he might have told you, but
he was at Mississippi State whenever I was at Denham Springs High School and was recruiting me to come play basketball with Bob Boyd, the head coach. Of course, he was the assistant coach, and of course, Ron Polk was the head coach. And John Brady used to drive on Friday nights when I was punting and kicking for Denham Springs High School, and he would drive all the way from Starkville, Mississippi, to watch me punt and kick and just be able to talk to me after the ball game. Man, he recruited me harder than anybody else recruited me to go to Mississippi State. And Mississippi State still has a special place in my heart because I love that place, but I like LSU just a little bit more. And when you grow up 20 minutes from a university, it's and you grow up going to basketball and football games and sneaking in the old Alex box through the hole in the wall out left field to watch as a kid, it's hard to get away.
Man, so he said, you got to ask him who was the hardest coach that recruited him. And then he was like, he also said, I don't know if he knew that I knew this, but he said, yeah, we went over there and I took the Mississippi State baseball coach. I don't know if you know, but Ron Polk. And I said, you took Ron Polk. Like it's not just some baseball coach. It's Ron Polk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that was before all the social media and of course, all the visits. And of course, like the coaches, if you were a bigger recruit, all the coaches would come to your house. And of course, I'm sure John told you all the story. He said he leaned over and told Bob Boyd, he said, we don't have a chance. They walked into my house and went into the game room area, and there was some LSU ceiling fans and all that. He said, we don't have a damn chance. He said, I'm just going to tell you. So that's what ended up happening, and but, if they'd have been closer to home, I would have thought about it. But the truth is, at the time, Ron Polk and Mississippi State baseball had the program in the Southeastern Conference. You got to remember, they had Palomero and Will Clark and Bobby Thigpen and Jeff Brantley, not just four good players, but four players that were going to be all-stars at the MLB level. Of course, two of them could be in the Hall of Fame at someday, but my senior year in high school, Skip Burtman, made it to the College World Series my senior year. And I said, okay, maybe this new coach, Burtman, whoever he is, maybe he's going to do okay at LSU, and I said, well, that kind of sealed the deal for me because the basketball team was doing fine. Dale Brown had been to, the 86 Final Four and, 87 as my freshman year, we went to the Elite Eight. So I wasn't worried about the basketball program. I was worried about the baseball program.
Well, I saw some stats. I think it was a couple of days ago. Somebody had sent me something about, I think it was 87, if I remember right. Because 86, you were still a senior at Denham, right?
Correct.
Okay, so 87 would have been your first year. And I think that was a year where, you're there, Barry Manuel, Greg Patterson, Russell Springer. He was young with you too, but I think I counted 6 starting pitchers in the major leagues were on that roster.
Yeah. Don't forget about Mark Guthrie.
Mark Guthrie, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Guthrie pitched about 13 years in the big leagues as a reliever. Russell Springer, if I'm not mistaken, pitched the longest time from anybody in the state of Louisiana, I think, other than maybe Rusty Staub, somebody told me. So he's like the second most of the 18 years in the big leagues. And so, yeah, that year, the 87 team at LSU was probably, if you talk to Coach Skip, might have been one of the most talented teams that he had. Don't forget about, Albert Bell, his junior year. To me, he's still the most dynamic, intimidating college hitter I ever played with or against, But the truth is, by the time we went to Omaha, Bell had been kicked off the team in 87 and Mark Guthrie had gotten hurt. So we lost our best pitcher and we lost our best position player by the time we made it to Omaha. And of course, didn't have very good luck there. I ended up getting up a grand slam and we ended up losing the whole damn thing and coming home. But that was one of the most talented teams that we had. But Skip always used to say, there had to be building blocks. You had to get there a few times before you believed that you could actually win it, And of course they went in 86 and lost. We went in 87 and lost. We went in 89 and lost. But then by the time they went back in 91, they said, okay, well, hell, we've been here 3 times. Now it's time to go ahead and win it. And once they started winning them, as you guys know, they came in bunches.
That's right. And I want to get to some, I'm sure you have a Joey Albert Bell story for me, but we'll get to that in a second. But I'd love to hear that one. All right. So thoughts on LSU baseball so far? To me, it feels like normal. Like, obviously, we always lose a game or two. In this case, we were coming off of a weekend where we got hammered on one game, and then there's another game that we could have won, and we could have gone 2-1 on that weekend. But baseball is kind of the overall theme that a lot of fans have. My concerns are more of this year being such a weird year for college baseball, and everybody's loaded. Are we, as fans, probably not seeing maybe what could be coming to us in the gauntlet that is the SEC?
That's a great question. And a gauntlet times 2 is what it's going to be this year. But yeah, I like this LSU team. There's a lot of questions for me. One being it's a young but very talented lineup. And so, going into this year, if you would look at that lineup, you'd only see Kay Beloso and Dugas, who had probably had more than 50 collegiate at-bats going into this year. If you talk about going around the horn and you talk about Thompson and, you're talking about Cade Doty, who got 40 at-bats last year. You talk about Arnold, who had 2 at-bats last year. Trey Morgan was a freshman. Dylan Cruz is a freshman. DiGiacomo had been in and out of the lineup, never really a big-time starter other than a little bit of time last year. It's a very inexperienced. They don't have much experience in that offensive lineup at all. Milazzo had about 35, 40 at-bats last year. And so you take Cade Beloso out of this lineup, and we don't have a very experienced lineup at all. It's talented. I like it, but it's also the kind of team, that could go into a prolonged slump when Vanderbilt rolls into town and Kumar Rocker rolls in here
and Jack Leiter. Holy cow.
Yeah, and Jack Leiter rolls in here. You're going to go, what the hell is going on? I mean, they could absolutely just stuff us in 2 games in a row, and then when Mississippi State comes in here, if Bednar gets healthy and Serenthal gets going, same thing. And Ole Miss comes into here, and you're going to look at Doug Ncaa on Friday night. You're going to see Gunnar Hoagland, who's going to be a first rounder, and Derek Diamond, their Sunday guy, up to 97 miles an hour. It's fixing to get real. I'm talking about it's fixing to get real. And that's what you're going to see in the SEC this year. And so I have my concerns. Will we score enough runs? I know we're doing now. The good thing is when you compare this year to last year at this time, and it's equal competition. And here's my concern for LSU. LSU's not played a ranked team yet. They've not even played a team that I don't know that's going to even be in the NCAA tournament. Okay, so they have not played a very strong schedule at all. But having said that, it's the same kind of schedule they played last year as well, leading into conference play. And so the team batting average is about 50 points better than what it was last year.
Right.
The runs per game is up about 4 runs per game this year. So the offense is much better. When you add Dylan Cruz, you add Trey Morgan, and a little bit more experience. I love Jordan Thompson. He's just starting to hit the ball a little bit, but he's a wiry, rangy kind of kid with a lot of pop. That played shortstop the other day, and that's a concern too, that Paul still hadn't landed on the left side of his infield yet. We're getting close to conference play, but it is what it is. And so I love Marceau. I love Labus on the pitching side. Jayden Hill, to me, is a diamond in the rough. Can he get it going? And will talent trump experience this year for him, because he had 21 innings pitched this, going into this year, which isn't very much at all for a college guy.
Right.
Matthew Beck is down now. That's a concern. And Devin Fontenot is not throwing it like he can yet at the back end of the bullpen. So there's some question marks for LSU. There's no doubt, but it's a talented team.
Yeah, and so one of the thoughts that I was having this year was, based on the offense last year, and I know it's a little better this year, but just because of the pitching in the SEC, and then our pitching staff being so good, that we were going to maybe coming into a lot of low scoring games in the SEC, hopefully. And if not, then it might be because of our pitching is not as on par as it needs to be. But one of the things that it brings us to is we actually started it's a joke, obviously, but we started a petition, and our petition is to move Dylan Cruz to the 3-hole. And if I get enough signatures, I'm going to bring it to Paul Maneri, and I'm going to say, here, the people have spoken. And we'll move him to the 3-hole, and we want your support on this. But you tell us what you think on Dylan Cruz at leadoff, especially with 5 home runs and 6 RBIs.
Well, okay. So here's the way I look at that. how many times are you the leadoff hitter in a ball game?
Yeah, right. More than yeah.
You're the leadoff hitter one time. So when Dylan Cruz leads off the game, he's a leadoff hitter one time in a ball game. The rest of the time, you don't have a clue when he's going to come up. He may come up third that inning, fourth that inning, fifth that inning, seventh that inning. My idea looking at that is
who's in front of him.
I like him where he is. One, because he reminds me of a Ricky Henderson that I used to play against, who's a Hall of Famer. One, if you make a mistake, and remember this, a starting pitcher struggles more at the beginning of a game than he will at any other time. In other words, when I leave that bullpen, I come into the game, I'm not quite sure what's working for me that day. I'm not sure how good my control is that day. And when Dylan Cruz steps to the plate, that first batter, it puts even more nervousness in my body as a starting pitcher. Because I know this, if I make a mistake, he can hit it out of the ballpark.
Mm-hmm.
If I walk him, he can steal second base.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to throw him a strike, but it's got to be a quality strike. And when I'm not quite on my game and my rhythm yet, he can cause havoc at the top. So for me, I like him where he is just because he can cause that havoc at the top where you got to throw him a strike. You don't know what's going on yet from a starting pitcher. He may make a mistake and he hits it out of the ballpark real quick and get you a 1-0 lead. But if he does walk him, he can steal second base. So, and here's another thing to remember. The difference in a college season of hitting 1 and hitting 3 over the course of, say, 55 or 60 games, Dylan Cruz will get about 15 more at-bats during the season hitting 1 hole than he will hitting 3 holes.
Right.
So if he's your best hitter, why would you not want him to get the most at-bats throughout the season? Because he can make a difference in that farm.
Well,
right? Over the course of a big league season, a guy hitting 1 versus hitting 3, it may be a lot more at-bats than that in 162. But why not give your best hitters the most at-bats? Because the truth is he's a leadoff hitter one time. And after that, the other 3 times he comes to the plate that game, we don't know where he's going to hit.
Well, I really wanted to see, before DiGiacomo went down, I wanted to see DiGiacomo move to the 9 hole and be in front of him. And he does strike out a good bit and probably more than he needs to, but just a way to get somebody on base that could be a little bit more productive in front of him and maybe move Milazzo up to 8 or whatever.
Would have, and you're right. You're right about that. He would have a ton more RBIs, and that's a concern again for LSU. The batting order is 1 through 5 or 6. They're pretty good, but then you get 7, 8, 9. We're not getting much production down there right now. So it would be nice if start to get a few more production. And when I mean production, I mean just people getting on base, whether it's by walk or hit by pitch or whatever it is. Dylan Cruz would have more RBIs than what he has right now, you know, as he comes up in the latter parts of ball games. And so that's something that's got to change for LSU. I think that it probably will. And these young guys get that experience. I think it's going to be that much better. But the truth is that it's about to get tougher. You know, that old movie, what was that movie? The old Western movie where he said, hell's coming. And
Tombstone.
Coming with or something like
that.
Yeah, Tombstone. Well, that hell's coming. I can tell you. In the SEC, hell is coming, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch as we see how these young guys respond to it.
I'm going to cut that into a YouTube clip. I will play that all year. And then somebody in the chat, Ben, just said, Jesus, Ben's got me nervous over here. So,
well, it's no need to be nervous about LSU baseball. It's kind of where they are right now. You know, to me, it's the kind of team that could really roll, like I said. But it's also the team that could fight a little, because what we've seen over the years in college baseball, truthfully speaking, is these veteran teams that have a lot of juniors and seniors are the teams that are beginning to make these deep runs into the postseason play. LSU doesn't have that. You know, they are talented, and I love their talent. Nolan Cain, look, he deserves credit. He brought in the number 2 recruiting class in this country. I think he's brought in, 3 of the last 5 years, he's brought in a top 5 recruiting class from Paul Maneri. And so he is doing his job. He's getting talent on campus. The question is how do they respond this year? Because, you know, everybody's uber talented. So it's going to be fun to see how it really unfolds. You know, it's going to be some tough games in there, some really tough games, some really tough series. And you're going to get hopefully not swept very often, but you could get swept one weekend and sweep the next. I think that's how it's going to be. It's going to be that close.
Okay. And Ben, I wanted to kind of shift gears a little bit to some old school stuff. It's not that often I get to talk to you. I'm 42. Okay. So, I grew up in that era. And a quick story, you actually handed out my Little League hat at Millerville. If you remember the Millerville Park. So that was an 88, I believe. So my story is that it was supposed to be Wes Grisham handing out our hats. And I had the big forearms in the league. And so I always loved Wes Grisham because they called him Popeye. And my dad always talked about Wes Grisham, and he was first baseman. I was a first baseman, all that kind of stuff. So then I find out, okay, Wes Grisham can't make it. They had to get a replacement. It's going to be Ben McDonald. And I may have been the only one. I was only one on the team that was disappointed about this. So
Wes Grisham was an awesome dude, and he could hit, man. He's one of those guys that, and here's a funny story from Skip Bourbon if you had never heard. When Wes Grisham showed up on campus, Beetle Bailey was the hitting coach, and Smoke was there, and Rooster Southpaw was there, and Skip called all the coaches in, and he saw Wes hit for the first few times. And he said, "Hey, listen, I just happened to be sitting." He said, "If any of you guys try to coach Wes Grisham, I'm going to fire you right away. Just leave him alone and let him hit."
That sounds like a story that he said about Todd Walker. I think I heard the same
exact same thing he said about Todd Walker, and it worked. Nobody coached Wes Grisham, and he hit like 370, and nobody coached Todd Walker and went on to be a first rounder, and play a long time. But Skip was like that. Skip was one of those guys that, he didn't, if you didn't need some adjustments being made and there wasn't no need to coach, he didn't coach. He didn't try to overcoach. He didn't try to put his stamp on you, if you will, like some coaches do today. And Todd Walker stepped on campus, and Skip saw him hit a few times, and he called them all into the same thing. He said, "If you try to coach Walker, look, you're going to be fired. Just leave him alone."
Well, what's the story I heard about Todd Walker with, I think that Todd Walker was getting kind of cocky with some pitches, and he was yanking them out, on a Nicholson or whatever. And then he asked the pitcher to throw at him, and the pitcher would try to throw at him, and he would still pull it off, as a foul ball, but he was pulling everything, and like you couldn't even hit him because his bat speed was too good. And he said, "Okay, forget it. He's just too good."
Those days, when you had Todd Walker and Rush Johnson in the lineup at the same time, I mean, and with the others that went around them, it was guerrilla ball time, and Todd was so good. Although he wasn't a big guy, you probably met him and been around him. He's a small guy, especially for big league standards, but he had some pop in his bat, and he created havoc with those old bats, and those bats that had some pop in them, back in those days. The bats are, and by the way, the college game now is as fair as I've ever seen it, with the BB core bats, and they went overboard at one point
with the balls.
There was no offense, but then we changed the balls 4 or 5 years ago, and we got a ball that carries a little bit further. And so I think the game is a fairer place as really I've ever seen the college.
And by the way, whenever you're doing you're at Omaha and you have a ball in your hand and you're showing the seams of the balls and you're trying to show how like spin on balls are affected in different ways. I think it was whenever they switched to the new balls, you were showing how you were able to I think it was like you may be able to get more spin out of this than you were before. Right. And I think this was right when Mikhail Hilliard came to campus, which was like, okay, his curveball was just insane as far as the spin ratio, if I remember right.
Right. Yes. I always felt like a higher seam baseball, which used to be the old balls. Yeah. I could spin my breaking ball better and make it have better bite and break to it. Now if I was throwing a fastball by you, I'd want a low seam ball because it wouldn't have the force, it wouldn't have the drag that you would normally have, So they kind of went to a lower seam baseball where it would actually fly a little bit further because it didn't have the drag. And we thought that we were going to do a favor, when they brought the new balls in, and we did. I mean, we started seeing more home runs pick up, but we didn't realize the pitchers would actually adapt to the baseball as well as they did. And so, for the last 3 or 4 years in college baseball, we not only set home run records for the BB core bat era, but we set strikeout records too. Yeah. Like we're striking out more guys than we ever have, but
just ask Vanderbilt.
Well, Vanderbilt, look, but don't look past Texas A&M. Go look at their numbers. They had 175 strikeouts already on the year.
Wow.
So there's a lot of strikeouts going on right now around the SEC, and there's a lot of big time arms in the SEC, and LSU's got them too, man. Yeah. LSU's got them too, and they're right up there in the strikeout world too, So that's kind of where. the college game always follows the big league game. Everybody knows that. It's always a couple years behind. And that's what we've seen at the big league level is, record strikeouts, but record home runs too, because of, for a lot of different reasons. One reason is they're trying to get the ball in the air a lot more, and guys got the uppercut swing and they're swinging and missing a lot, but they're also hitting home runs too. So it's kind of where we are. It's a phase that we're in the game right now.
All right. Last thing, Ben, and it's go back to 1989, teleport yourself back to 1989. I listened to this game on the radio. I'll never forget it. I do another podcast with a group of guys, and we actually had Jim Hawthorne on, and we talked to him about this game in particular. Texas A&M, the doubleheader. We win the doubleheader, and we go to Omaha at Texas A&M. Best team probably ever created, Texas A&M that year. You're on deck waiting to hit, and we don't get to hit, and you're mad. Take us back to that hole and give us the rundown of what happened there, because I'll never forget Jim Hawthorne on there saying, and Ben McDonald's got a bat in his hand, and he is upset. He is so mad.
Well, I'm a traditionalist, and of course, I grew up in high school hitting, and was a decent hitter. I was pretty good, with what I did. And so I always loved to hit. I always wanted to get drafted by a National League team where I could go hit, and of course that never happened. And, so I threw game one against A&M, and I threw, I think 6 or 7 innings. And, we had actually worked, but it wasn't like a fluke of the deal moment. Bourbon told me I started taking fly balls, leading into that series for about a week out in the outfield. So he said, listen, if we get a lead and you're pitching, I'm going to put you in the outfield
so I can bring you back.
Take you out of the game.
Yeah.
Because if we got it, if they start coming back, I got to bring you back in the ball game. Well, sure enough, we got a nice lead. I think we were winning 9-4 or something, and he puts me in left field. But the way the substitution went, whoever I went in for, had just batted. And so I played the 7th, 8th, and top of the 9th. I was on deck, I think it was, at the top of the 9th, and ready to hit with a bat in my hand. And, of course, they made out, and I think I was upset because I wanted to hit,
Did you throw the bat? What did you do? Because I couldn't see it.
I might have just kind of popped the helmet in the ground a little bit, and ran back out to left field. But it was fun for me because all I'd ever done at LSU was pitch, and so I got to play a couple of innings, 2 or 3 innings out in left field, and caught a couple fly balls, and that was fun, and so. But
can you imagine if a coach did this now? I mean, they would get killed for this. I mean, bringing a guy back in again. I mean, he just raked over the coals. But what did you think?
Well,
yeah.
There's a lot of things that we just didn't know about arm care as much back then as we know now. And of course, if I was pitching in today's game, I wouldn't have done the things that I did obviously during my era, which. With some crazy stuff when you think about it. I mean, who throws 152 innings in a collegiate year, and who pitches 9 on Saturday and closes on Sunday 5 different times, and, and who accumulates 352 innings in a 16-month period as a 20-year-old, 21-year-old kid, because that's what I did, but we didn't think anything of it. We just went and did it. And can you pitch? And you're like, damn right, I can go pitch, give me the ball, can you get me an out? Yeah, well, that's like Texas A&M. I threw 7 innings and took 3 hours off, and coach came to me in the second game and said, hey, can you get me an out in the 9th inning? Can you get the save? I said, just give me the ball, and so that's just the way we did it back then. And of course, things are a little bit different now, and it is what it is. But I don't fault Coach Burton for that. A lot of people say, well, you pitched 9 years, you could have pitched 15 years if you would have done all that throwing as an amateur. But I wouldn't change anything for it in the world, and I certainly don't blame Coach Bourbon. If I was a product of my time, that's what I did. They asked if you go pitch, and I said, damn right, I can go pitch, give me the ball, and that was just what we did then,
So, any thoughts on when Todd Peterson came up in the SEC tournament a couple of years ago and raked it? Did you have any? Oh my gosh, that could have been me.
Yeah, that was like a 1 in a million thing, because I love Todd Peterson, but my man has trouble walking and chewing bubble gum. I'm just going to tell you. I mean, it's just like, there was no way in hell he was going to hit this ball, right? But he took a pretty athletic swing at the first one, and then he just ran into one. And, of course, he's a big boy, 6'4", 230, and when he ran into it, it came off the bat. But, he walked around kind of goony out there all the time. I used to watch him. But when he get on the mound, he kind of turned into Superman. But I didn't see that coming. But that's a great story because, he lied to Paul and told Paul, yeah, I used to hit all the time in high school. And the truth of the matter is he didn't hit much at all, And so that's a great story. And I love Peterson. He was a heck of a competitor, and I'm happy for him. I hope his big league career, I hope he gets going.
Yeah, well, I think he's getting some call up, hopefully, in a couple of years here. So I think he's playing some spring training right now. All right. So last thing, Coach, we're going into the SEC basketball tournament, about to go into the NCAA basketball tournament. We were talking to John Brady earlier. Like I know you're a basketball fan. There's one thing, I just feel like this team is missing something this year. And I don't know what it is, but I feel like they're missing like maybe 6'7", scrappy guy that can kind of hit the floor. And I'm showing a picture of you
right there. That's me on the bench. I spent most of my time on the bench. That's me. It's my freshman year, I started the first 7 games of the year as a true freshman because you probably remember Ncaa Wilson. Ncaa Wilson was out on academic. He was out on academic probation, and Ricky Blanton had blew up his knee in the preseason, and so I really wasn't supposed to play a whole lot. And I actually had to start the first 7 or 8 games of the year, which I really enjoyed. And then, of course, Ncaa came back, and I was delegated to about 10 minutes a game off the bench, But look, I loved basketball. It was my favorite sport growing up. I was probably one of those ADD kids before there was such a thing as ADD, because I like to run up down the court, And so, and I was actually higher recruited out of high school to play basketball than baseball, But, man, I got over to LSU, and those boys could dribble it up the court faster than I could run. And then my fastball picked up about 7 miles an hour during my freshman year from high school. I started topping out at 97, and I knew at that point if I was going to play at the next level, it was probably going to be baseball.
No, you made a good decision, Ben.
Yeah, I think I did.
We appreciate your time today. Hope to have you back on when the baseball season keeps, especially in the SEC play here. So I want to keep you in the fold if we can. Okay, Ben?
Yeah, I'd love to do that, man. I'd like to see how our Tigers do. It's a young team, man, but I really think they got a chance, but it's got to come together, and so it's going to be a rough time for them, but it's going to be fun to watch, that's for sure.
All right, Ben, we appreciate it. We will talk to you soon, my friend.
All right, take care. Good talking to you guys.
All right, bud. All right, Ben McDonald here. So
you kept calling him Coach.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
I called him Coach
several times.
Well, I think that's the new thing now.
I was about to call him.
Guys call other guys Coach now. I found
like when I'm talking to like a Ben McDonald level guy.
Yeah.
I just for some reason
Coach.
I also want to say Coach. It's not. It's not just you. No.
Well, he's actually a softball coach, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
so
I was actually just about to ask him before we hung it up. I remembered. You remember when I was playing over at in Denham Springs, playing at Pards?
Okay.
Over there.
Yeah.
And the age below me and then the age above Charlie, Ben McDonald coached in that league.
Okay.
He coached his son in that league.
Okay.
I completely forgot.
Apparently, I think he has a daughter too, and I think he's grown into the game of softball more. That's something we can talk to him about later on.
That was the first time I had ever even heard his name was when I saw him in person coaching his son.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I was 8 years old.
Yeah, right.
So, I wasn't exactly, up to date on my.
When we found out we were going to get Ben McDonald on, the first person I called was my dad, and I was like, "Dad, you're not going to believe this, but I'm getting Ben McDonald on the podcast." And it's like that's just how we grew. We grew up in that era, watching, College World Series games with him and all that kind of stuff. And I remember all those games vividly. That whole time period. There was an 89 team. We ended up losing to Oklahoma State a couple of times. And Oklahoma State back then was like loaded. They had Robin Ventura. They had Pete Incaviglia. They had a guy that hit like 40 home runs in a season at Oklahoma State. But Robin Ventura played pro ball for years. And in college, he had the longest hitting streak in college history. Yeah. I think it was like over 50 games or 60 games or something crazy. But we ended up losing to those guys. But we had like Ben McDonald and we had Chad Oj. These are all like LSU legends, like as a pitching staff. And we couldn't get over the hump then. But it was like 91. Like he said, it was like a step-by-step deal. And it's a shame that Ben McDonald never won a College World Series because those teams were completely loaded. They just weren't ready yet. And that's what I'm afraid of with this season is that these guys, and I think somebody mentioned in the chat, like they got a lot of swag. They're young, got a lot of energy, but like when they hit that wall in the SEC, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And you know, I've been thinking the past couple of weeks, I think it would be okay to be, I'm blanking on the word, to just, you know, be
mediocre.
Okay with this team not being great yet. Because
I just feel like the expectations, because this is supposed to be a loaded roster. Everybody's supposed to be loaded this year. Yeah. And this is technically our loaded roster. Yeah. But how does our loaded roster compare to everybody else's loaded rosters? And I think that's how you have to judge it this year.
Right. I get that.
But it's going to rain down on Paul Maneri.
But I think the way I'm seeing this roster is like, yeah, we're going to be this is supposed to be our loaded year, but I think we're going to be loaded next year, and I think we're going to be loaded next
absolutely.
Year. And other teams that are loaded, super loaded this year are not going to be as loaded as us because I'm just seeing all these freaking freshmen.
Yeah.
Then they're just sick.
And I made a mistake maybe it was a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about Vanderbilt. So they have Kumar Rocker and they have Jack Leiter as a 1 and 2. Jack Leiter, I didn't realize he got hurt his freshman year, and this is actually his.
This is his second year.
This is his third year, but he's a sophomore, so he's draft eligible. So the talk is,
so he's gone.
That Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter may go literally 1 and 2 in the major league draft.
Shit.
Yep.
So they're like that.
Jayden Hill may go in the top 5, top 10.
So is this a situation where you pitch Jayden Hill on Sunday? You don't
right. And we talked about this. Marceau's pitching better than Hill right now.
True. Yeah.
I think that
we're only 3 weeks in, but yeah,
dude, this year, this is kind of why it brings me to this Dylan Cruz stuff is you need every run you can freaking get.
Yeah.
Every run. You need every win you can freaking get.
Yeah.
And if you see an opportunity where you need to move Hill to a Sunday, and I understand it messes up your rotation a little bit, but if you see that opportunity because it's going to give you a win, I think you need to take it, especially if you have somebody like Marceau that's pitching so well. You need to be very flexible this year, especially with COVID. And there's still COVID out there. I mean, I understand people getting vaccines, but you may have somebody get popped with COVID. You need to be flexible.
And, I don't know a coach less flexible than Paul Maneri. I really don't. He's so set in what he wants to do all the time. That's why when I talk about Dylan Cruz, I'm almost thinking about it the same way I think about Josh Gray for LSU, where I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna give up because I just don't think he's gonna change.
The great thing is
Josh Gray played a little bit against
right,
Missouri.
But the great thing is Dylan Cruz is going to be here for 3 years. So
true.
I think that's the beauty of college baseball, and actually college basketball should have done this a long time ago. You can either leave out of high school and go straight to the NBA, or you stay 3 years in college basketball.
Do we know whether he'll be a draft eligible sophomore?
I don't know. I have to look at his age. It's about his age.
We'll get him to send us that.
Yeah, let us know that.
BC.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah,
we'll find out. We may have an in with Dylan Cruz. Hey.
If you
so anyway,
throw up an O. For us.
Yes. So we told him the next time I don't know, the game's going on right now. He may have done it. Let us know in the chat if Dylan Cruz hit a home run. He's supposed to throw up an O for One Team One podcast if he does. So,
forgot we were playing
but anyway, anybody has any other questions for us? I really
0-0. So.
0-0. So no, yeah.
It's top of the second.
I could talk to Ben McDonald. I could talk to John Brady and Ben McDonald for days. So I want to get these guys back on again. And we do. Chris Landry's in the chat. I know we need to get a Darante Jones Bourbon Club with all these guys and kind of get them out. And let's have some maybe in the backyard even like we can even do like a little cigar night with these guys and just do a round table and just shoot the shit. I think that's the way to go with these guys in the future. It's been over an hour. Anything else you want to go over tonight? I know. So we may have Jake Marsh coming on next week with Barstool.
Marsh, for those who don't know, his story is kind of interesting because I was following him before he was with Barstool.
Mm-hmm.
He was with Vermont. He was like he did the post game show for Vermont.
Okay.
But John Rothstein would always retweet him and post him and say Jake Marsh, period, the future, period.
Okay.
And it was just how
it just turned into
John Rothstein just makes up these nicknames for
right
everyone in college basketball.
Yeah.
And so when he would follow Vermont, it would always be about Jake Marsh. And then Jake Marsh, by his association with John Rothstein, ended up getting a job with Pardon My Take. And they have their own podcast with Barstool now.
Okay.
Barstool Bench Mob, I think is what it's called.
Yes.
And it's him, Rico Bosco, and Marty Mush.
And
those three.
Well, it's not Ben Mintz too now.
Is Ben Mintz on the show?
Yeah,
now?
I think all 4 of them are on there now, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't know he's doing the show now.
I might be wrong.
That might be very recent, but
yeah,
that would be awesome if Ben Mintz is on the show.
Well, and they all have Don't Be a Dick t-shirts coming to them as well. So I think we're going to have them all outfitted with One Team One podcast apparel. Jude is in the chat saying All-American third baseman Will Helmers is on the mound. Get it? All-American third baseman. That's a great tweet, Jude. I might steal that and make a tweet. Somebody's going to get mad at me, I'm sure.
Jude said Jack's right. I love that. That's
Jack's
favorite.
right.
That's my
we could be in
words.
for a delayed gratification year. Ellie has made it into the chat. This is Ellie Mae, the mascot of One Team One podcast. She can't hear anything, guys. She's deaf, so don't even try. She's deaf. She's handicapped. We appreciate everybody checking in with us tonight. We appreciate our sponsors, first of all. Courtesy Buick GMC, Brandon Lejeune, fantastic guy in Lafayette. You guys need a vehicle, reach out to Brandon at Courtesy Buick GMC. I don't care where you are located, but he can get it for you and he can deliver it to you. And it's all about convenience at this point for those guys. Also, Bear Process Safety, Adam Barry at Bear Process Safety. Anybody that's in the plant or industrial arena, give if you can, give your operations guys Bear Process Safety. Adam will get you set up. He'll take care of all the safety protocols, everything like that, and set up your guys with everything that you need to get. Ether Insurance, Adam Emirato. I just went and did a old-fashioned tasting with Adam Emirato last night. Check that out on our YouTube. We went to Soji and we went to Doze. Doze is not happy with me. I can tell you that right now. They just don't like that I
They're not?
Yeah.
William's about to be in town, so we'll have
we'll get William to come.
We'll have to talk to William about it.
Ether Insurance, get a quote on it's AETHERINS.com. You can put your quote in for those guys. That's home, life, auto, commercial, any kind of insurance needs you have. There was a guy that I was sitting there with Adam yesterday, and a guy actually sent him a text saying, I have a Bitcoin mining company and I need to get it insured.
Nice.
And Adam was like,
love to hear it.
I think we can. Let me check.
I just downloaded Robinhood yesterday.
I do too. I have it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
I'm to the moon guy.
I invested $1.
Okay. $1.
I haven't decided what I'm going to invest it in yet, but I don't have any money right now. So.
Okay. Well, you're just on credit then, right?
Exactly.
That's good.
I decided now's the time. Everything's
to the moon, baby.
Back up. Yeah.
Also, Bogies. Want to give a big shout out to Clayton at Bogies. We'll be back over at Bogies soon. We'll do a live stream from there.
Yeah.
Go check those guys out. With these new protocols in place, I think they can open back up a little bit more. So check those guys out over there. I mean, I know it's Bogies guys, and I'm old. I'm 42, but you got to help these guys out. We've really got to help out bars and restaurants right now. Bars, especially the ones that can't serve food, dude. They've just been closed. They've just been closed the whole time. You got to help these guys out. At least go in there and get a drink. We would really appreciate it. Tell them One Team One Podcast brought you, and Clayton will probably hook you up. But
and it's Louisiana, you can get it to go. It's not.
Who cares? We'll put it in a cup. So we appreciate those guys. We'll be back out there soon as well. Lots of rain watches as well, so you'll hear that on the live stream. But also check out our YouTube page. Been posting a lot of stuff on YouTube. Like and subscribe if you can. Also Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, obviously, and now Twitch. So we're on Twitch as well. We'll have the audio set up on Spotify and Apple coming up probably either tonight or tomorrow, and I'll get that over there for you. Anything else you got?
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
We don't ever say Go Tigers.
Huh?
We don't ever say Go Tigers.
No, well, we have
the
Coach O to say it for us.
There you go.
All right. One Team One Podcast.
Logging out.
We showed you what the GOAT was last year when we beat y'all 50-7.
Let's go! One team!
Relax, big boy.
Team One Podcast?
One Team One Podcast?
Yeah, they did a good job.
Really good. Yeah.
Why is he so fat?
One team, one podcast.
One team, one podcast.
One team.